My husband took his mistress to a secret dinner, so I brought her family and the truth. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved ones. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. Poke. I wasn't supposed to find the reservation confirmation in his jacket pocket, but fate clearly had other plans. It was tucked inside, folded neatly like it belonged there. The paper smelled faintly of his cologne, and the name of the restaurant jumped out at me like a warning sign. A high-end steakhouse. Not exactly a spot you go to alone after work. Then I saw it. Table for two. Name, Brianna. Not a client. Not a coworker I'd heard of. Just Brianna. No last name. No explanation. I stood there in the hallway, holding the paper in one hand, my phone in the other, and my heart pounding in my chest like it wanted to run away. He had told me he'd be working late that night, on a project that needed finishing before morning. But the reservation? It was for 8 p.m. That wasn't a work meeting. That was a dinner. A secret dinner. I sat on the bed, trying to breathe, thinking through the past few months. The late nights. The extra showers when he got home. The way he'd started putting his phone face down. The new password I wasn't allowed to know. Little things I had brushed off, until now. I took a picture of the reservation and carefully tucked it back into his jacket like I'd never touched it. I wasn't going to confront him yet. I needed more. That evening, I called my sister-in-law. Her name's Ashley, and she's worked in cybersecurity for over a decade. She'd helped friends before in situations like this. I told her everything calmly. She didn't ask many questions. Just said, send me the name and the restaurant. I'll handle it. The next morning, I called the restaurant and booked a table for one, just a few seats away from them. They didn't ask why. Probably used to this sort of thing. I thanked them and hung up, staring at my reflection in the mirror. I wasn't sad. Not really. I wasn't angry either. I felt clear. Sharp. Like everything was starting to make sense. All the lies, all the excuses, they weren't shadows anymore. They had a name. Brianna. That night, I chose my outfit with care. Not to impress him, but to remind myself who I was. Calm. Composed. Watching it all unfold silently. No drama. Just truth. He wouldn't see it coming. He didn't even know he'd already lost. Ashley sent me a name. Brianna. No last name needed. Her Instagram told me everything. She had a public profile, all carefully posed and filtered. Bright smiles, perfect angles, and captions full of vague emotions. But what caught my eye were the tagged photos. Someone had tagged her at the same restaurant 2 weeks earlier. She looked too comfortable in that booth. Too familiar with the man sitting across from her. His face was cropped out, but I knew the shirt. It was one I'd bought for my husband last Christmas. I started saving everything. Screenshots, timestamps, captions. One photo was taken outside a hotel downtown. Same day he said he was out of town for a conference. Another had a blurry arm in the corner. Same watch I gave him on our anniversary. Her posts weren't obvious. That was the genius in it. She posted wine glasses clinking, desserts with 2 spoons, sunset reflections in hotel windows. Always hinting. Never naming. A digital trail of soft, smug clues. Just enough for those who were supposed to know. I dug deeper. My phone's shared GPS history still tracked his old locations. I matched them with hers. Different phones. Same coordinates. Same time. The pattern was undeniable. Every piece felt like a puzzle fitting together. The lies weren't random. They were strategic, planned, practiced. What hurt the most wasn't the affair. It was how he had made me doubt myself. Every time I questioned something, he turned it around. Told me I was imagining things. Jealous for no reason. Insecure. You're being dramatic, Emily, he would say, shaking his head like I was some unstable woman who couldn't trust her own husband. But now I had proof. Solid, irrefutable proof. I wasn't imagining anything. The worst part, they looked happy. Not in love, but in control. Like they believed they'd never get caught. Like I was just the background character in their little love story. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to cry in public or throw anything at him. That would be too easy for him. Too expected. No. I wanted him to feel exposed. Not just guilty, but stripped of the lie he built around me. I wanted to tear down the image he had crafted for both of them. Quietly, calmly, and with perfect timing. This wasn't about revenge for heartbreak. It was about balance. About truth. I wasn't crazy. I was right, and now I was ready. I found her last name through a company website. It wasn't hard. Her face was on the About Us page, listed under marketing. I used the name to search public records and found a matching address tied to her mother. Her older sister had tagged her in a birthday post 2 months ago. It didn't take long to piece together the rest. I didn't want to go in as myself. Not yet. I created a new email and reached out with a simple message. I'm part of a private women's support group. I believe your daughter may be involved in a situation with a married man. I thought you'd want to know. Her mother replied within an hour. She gave me her number and asked if we could talk. We spoke that evening. I kept my voice calm, steady. Told her I had reason to believe her daughter was in an affair that had hurt someone deeply. I didn't give my name, just enough for her to listen. She was confused at first, but concerned. She said she didn't raise her daughters to behave that way. She asked for details. I told her I would meet her in person and explain everything. We met in a quiet cafe. Her sister came too. I brought a small folder, printed screenshots, dates, and pictures. When I told them who I really was, neither said a word at first. Then her sister looked down and said, "It's not the first time." That stopped me. She told me Brianna had done this before. A different man, same story. Secret meetings, quiet posts, hidden texts. That time, it nearly ended in a fight between family. They had warned her to stop. She didn't listen. Her mother looked tired. Embarrassed. She said, "I didn't know she was doing this again." I asked them one thing, just one. To come with me to the dinner. Not to fight. Not to yell. Just to show up and watch. They agreed. Her mother said she wanted her daughter to see what shame looks like when it comes from your own blood. Her sister said it was time someone held her accountable in front of everyone, not behind closed doors. We set the plan in motion together. Quietly, carefully. No one raised their voice. No threats were made. Just three women who had all been hurt in different ways by the same person, walking toward the same moment. Not for drama, for truth. The reservation was for Saturday night at 8. I arrived 15 minutes early. I had chosen my dress with care. Black, sleek, simple, but strong. Not flashy. Not loud. Just enough to make a statement. I kept my makeup sharp, my hair neat, and my face unreadable. I wanted to look like control. Calm, measured control. The host greeted me with a smile. I gave my name, and he led me to my seat, directly across the room from their table. Not too close. Just close enough to see everything. I thanked him and ordered a glass of wine. The place was full. Couples leaned in close over candles. Laughter, clinking glasses, and low music filled the air. It was the kind of setting where trust is assumed, where secrets aren't meant to exist. I scanned the room once, then sent a short text. "I'm in position." 2 minutes later, my best friend slipped into a seat near the bar, angled perfectly toward their table. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. Just pulled out her phone, acting like she was texting, while the camera stayed focused. At 8:06, he walked in. She followed, wearing red. They looked relaxed. Comfortable. He held her chair as she sat. She laughed at something he whispered. Watching them felt surreal, like seeing strangers play roles written behind your back. I didn't flinch. I sipped my wine and waited. My heart wasn't racing. Not anymore. I had already done the crying. Already processed the betrayal. Tonight wasn't about emotion. It was about the moment. The moment he realized everything had finally caught up to him. The staff moved around quietly, carrying trays and topping off glasses. The lighting made the room feel warm, but under it, their lie looked colder by the second. I could see her phone on the table. I wondered if she'd post another half-faced story later. Another filtered scene of stolen time. Not tonight. I checked the clock. 5 minutes left. I turned slightly, giving my friend a signal. She nodded once, phone steady in her hand. The final piece was walking through the door. And when they did, everything would shift. Not because I said a word, but because truth has a way of showing up, dressed exactly how it needs to. And I was ready to watch it happen. Their appetizers had just arrived. I could see them sharing bites, leaning close. She touched his arm once. He smiled like nothing in the world could touch him. That moment didn't last long. At exactly 8:27, the waiter stepped up to their table, holding a calm smile. "A few guests have joined your party," he said clearly. Brianna looked up, confused. My husband raised his brows but said nothing. Then they appeared. Her mother, her father, her sister. 3 quiet figures, dressed well, walking toward the table with steady steps. Brianna froze. She blinked, then looked again, as if her eyes had failed her. Her hand shook as she reached for her wine glass. One sip, too fast, and she coughed, choking slightly, trying to hide the panic rising in her throat. The man beside her stared at the approaching group, his smile fading. They reached the table, and the silence around them grew heavy. Her mother didn't speak. Her father didn't sit. Her sister looked straight at Brianna and gave her the kind of stare only family can give. Disappointed, exhausted, done. I stood. No rush. No hesitation. I walked across the floor, each step measured, my heels quiet but certain. People turned to look, sensing something real was happening, something that didn't fit the polite quiet of a Saturday night dinner. I stopped at the edge of their table. He looked up at me like he'd seen a ghost. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. I didn't look at her. Not yet. I only looked at him, held his eyes, and in that moment he knew. Not just that I had found out, but that I had planned this. That every step had led to this moment. That I wasn't here to scream or beg or explain. I was here to end it, in full view of everyone he thought would never see. Brianna didn't speak. She just looked between her parents and me, her face pale. The table they once owned was now taken. Not physically, but in meaning. The lie had no more space to breathe. I didn't need to say anything yet. The scene spoke louder than words, and I watched him sit there, completely exposed. He wasn't the man in control anymore. He was just a man who got caught by the one person he never thought would be brave enough to stand right in front of him and not look away. I reached into my purse and pulled out the folder. Neat, organized, each page carefully prepared. I laid the first page on the table in front of him, a printout of their hotel check-in confirmation from 3 weeks ago. He stared at it without touching it. Next, I placed 2 side-by-side photos, one from her Instagram, one from my phone's GPS history. Same time, same place, different lies. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. There are 14 pages, I said calmly. Each one matches a night you said you were somewhere else. Each one proves you were with her. He reached out like he wanted to gather them, maybe to hide them. I slid them further away from his hand. The room around us had gone silent. No music, no forks, no conversation, just watching. I placed 2 more sheets in front of Brianna. One was a message she had sent him. The other was his reply. She looked down at them, lips pressed tight, then back at me. Her mother leaned forward to read. Her face didn't move. Her father looked away. My husband opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Brianna's mom slapped her napkin down hard. "Sit," she said firmly, without even looking at him. "You've done enough." He sat back, stunned. I kept going. I spoke clearly. Steady. I listed dates, messages, bookings, charges, all the small things that added up to truth. Then I said the one thing that mattered most. "You told me I was imagining things. You told me I was jealous. You lied to me while making me doubt myself." He didn't speak. He couldn't. Brianna looked like she wanted to disappear. Her sister didn't offer her any comfort. Her father shook his head. I handed the final page to her mother. It was a note, not proof, not evidence. Just a message. One woman to another. She read it slowly, folded it in half, and tucked it into her purse. Then she turned to her daughter and said, "You brought this to our table, not her." No one moved. The weight of the moment held everyone still. He looked at me one last time, but it was too late. I had finished speaking, and I had said everything that needed to be said, with facts, with dignity, and without giving him the one thing he had always counted on, my silence. He didn't come home that night. When I got back, I packed his things into boxes and left them by the front door. I changed the locks the next morning. He tried calling twice, but I didn't answer. I sent one message, "Contact my lawyer." Within hours, word spread. Friends started reaching out. Some had guessed something was wrong. Others admitted they'd seen signs, but didn't want to get involved. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages of support, some from people I hadn't heard from in years. My family stood by me. His. Mostly silent. 2 days later, I got a message from a woman who worked at Brianna's company. She told me the story had reached their office. Turns out, one of their biggest clients was my husband's firm. That meant her job had crossed into their personal mess. Things moved fast. The client pulled their account. Brianna's name was removed from the website a week later. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. I hired a lawyer. A good one. We didn't rush. Every document was reviewed, every detail checked. I wasn't going to let emotions lead. This wasn't just a broken marriage. It was a legal process now, and I would handle it right. While gathering paperwork, I found things I hadn't noticed before. Hidden payments. Bank statements I hadn't seen. He had opened an account under a different name. Small deposits, hotel charges, gifts. It was all there, just out of sight. I handed it to my lawyer. She nodded. "We'll use this," she said. "It changes everything." I felt a mix of anger and relief. Anger that he'd betrayed me not just emotionally but financially. Relief that I had proof. No guessing. No doubt. At night, I sat alone in a quiet house. It didn't feel empty. It felt clear. For the first time in months, I could breathe without wondering where he was or what he was hiding. He had lost control of the story. I had taken it back. Piece by piece, I rebuilt the timeline. Not to hold on to the pain, but to make sure it never happened again. He chose lies. I chose truth. And now the rest was mine to decide. 2 weeks after the dinner, I got a message from an unknown number. "Emily, I didn't know he was married. I'm sorry." It was her. I didn't reply. She had seen the ring. She had sent him messages late at night. She had posted pictures from places we used to go. And I had screenshots of it all. Every word, every timestamp. She knew. She just didn't care. People around her started to pull away. Some unfollowed her online. Others stopped inviting her out. A friend of hers shared a post that made its way to me. Something about betraying other women for attention. They didn't mention her name, but it wasn't hard to guess. Her job didn't just lose the client. Her manager put her on leave. Someone told me her team was moved to another department. Quiet punishment. I never asked for any of it. I didn't need to. The truth moved on its own. Her family didn't speak publicly, but someone close told me she had moved back in with her parents for a while. Her mother wasn't taking her calls at first. Her sister blocked her completely. She had made choices. Now she was sitting in the middle of what those choices brought. A few days later, she sent another message. Please, just tell me what you want me to do. I didn't mean for this to happen. Still, I said nothing. It wasn't my job to guide her through shame. That was hers to carry, hers to fix. Some people want closure. Others want forgiveness. But what she wanted didn't matter anymore, not to me. I had already made peace with the truth. Letting her in again, even for a response, would give her a piece of the story she didn't earn. She wanted me to believe she was innocent. But innocence doesn't come with secrets. And it doesn't get proven by begging after you've been exposed. I blocked the number. No anger. No final words. Just silence, the kind that speaks louder than anything she ever posted. I didn't go quiet after everything. I didn't hide. Instead, I began writing. At first, it was just for me. Small notes, thoughts, things I had kept inside for too long. Then I created a blog. I didn't use names. I didn't need to. I wrote about lies, betrayal, and what it feels like when the person you trust most turns into a stranger. People started reading. First a few, then hundreds. They left comments, sent messages. Some shared their own stories, similar pain, same patterns. Women who had been called crazy for asking questions. Women who had been blamed for what others did to them. It grew faster than I expected. Soon, I was getting invited to speak on podcasts. One host called it emotional truth-telling. I spoke about gaslighting, about how damaging it is when someone twists your reality to protect their lies, about how betrayal doesn't just break hearts, it breaks self-worth. But healing is real. I didn't just tell the story of what he did. I talked about what I did after, how I stood up in the middle of it, how I chose truth over silence, how I refused to let someone else's choices define my future. People listened, not because I was loud, but because I was honest. The story wasn't about revenge. It was about power, not the kind that hurts others, but the kind that puts your life back in your hands after someone tried to steal it. One post got shared over 50,000 times. It was titled, "You don't get to destroy someone and walk away clean." That line stuck with people. Because too often people cheat, lie, hurt, and expect to be forgiven quietly. They expect the person they broke to disappear, stay silent, or take the blame. I didn't. And I wasn't the only one. My story became a voice for others who were still scared to speak, still stuck in silence. And slowly they began writing too. This wasn't just healing. It was something stronger. It was reclaiming. I wasn't just someone who got cheated on. I was someone who turned pain into purpose. And every word I shared was a reminder. You can survive betrayal. You can come back stronger, and you can live a better story, one that belongs to you. It had been almost 6 months when the letter came. No name on the envelope, just a return address I didn't recognize. Inside was a simple note, handwritten. It was from Brianna's father. He thanked me, not for what I went through, but for what I revealed. He said no one else had been able to break through to her. She never listened. Not until the night her family sat across from her at that restaurant and saw the truth with their own eyes. He said it hurt to watch his daughter fall, but it hurt more to watch her destroy others. He hoped she would finally change, and he ended the letter with one line. "You did what we couldn't." I folded it and kept it in a drawer. Not as a trophy, just as a quiet reminder. My ex-husband's story didn't stay hidden. The company found out. Someone sent in the screenshots. Not me. I never had to. He was let go. Something about conduct. A contract clause. His image was damaged, and clients didn't want to be tied to the drama. He lost more than a job. His reputation slipped through his hands. I didn't follow his life closely, but I heard things. He moved out of the city, struggled with money, tried to clean things up, but the mess had already stuck. Meanwhile, my story kept spreading. Someone posted a summary on Reddit. It blew up overnight. A short version landed on TikTok, then on Medium. People tagged me, sent screenshots, said they felt seen, said they wished they had done the same. I never planned to go viral, but it happened. I became a name in articles about bold wives, about truth and dignity. Some people called it revenge. Others called it justice. I didn't call it anything. I just kept living. I met someone new quietly. It wasn't fast. It wasn't dramatic. We met through mutual friends. He listened when I talked. He never made me feel small. I didn't expect love, but I welcomed peace. That was more than enough. I still wrote, still spoke, still answered messages from strangers who just needed to hear. You're not crazy. You're not alone. What started as a betrayal became something bigger than me. And no matter how anyone tells the story, one thing is certain. I didn't break. I became something stronger.